And the wonderful Adam Lambert.
Hello.
Adam, thank you for joining us.
Yes, my pleasure.
Adam's taken a little bit of time out of his busy schedule to come and answer some Twitter questions today. Before we get to that, if you haven't had a chance to tweet your question in, don't fret, all is not lost. Just go to billboard.com and tweet us using hashtag BBAdam. I will perhaps capture some of those tweets, and I'll put our guy here on the spot. So tweet away, but before we get to that, I want to talk about your new album, Trespass, which hits stores tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's already getting a lot of rave reviews from fans around the world, so congratulations. I know
Thanks.
you put a lot of effort into it.
Thank you.
Talk a little bit about the process of putting the record together and what you wanted to get out on your second release.
Well, I mean, the best thing about this whole process was that I had time on my side on this one. The first album, which I'm very proud of, For Your Entertainment, we did that in about 2 months while I was on a nationwide stadium tour. Mm-hmm. So it was like there was no time to think, let alone sleep or breathe. And so it was very much a guessing game. And we basically just did a bunch of cool songs and recorded them. This album, I was able to kind of experiment a lot in the studio with different producers and writers. And as the process went on, I was able to kind of see the trend of which sound I was gravitating towards the most, which one I liked. I could play the songs as demos to friends and family and other colleagues, see what the reaction was. So I got to kind of do my own research. Mm-hmm. And I found that I really wanted to get into that funk.
Yeah, I was going to say, it definitely has more of like an upbeat. There's a lot of like, big dance albums.
Yeah, it's disco funk dance for like now. Mm-hmm. And then the back half of the album slows down a bit and it goes into kind of an experimental, mid-tempo, emotional kind of place. Mm-hmm. And there's definitely, I think, you know, inherently, I think I gravitate towards kind of over-the-top rock spirit, you know, and so I sing things with that edge still. I think that's part of who I am as an artist and as a singer, but there's more groove on this album. There's a little more of a pocket. Mm-hmm. And I think, as an artist, I think that after touring for a couple years and seeing my fan base and getting to know them more and getting to know what I loved performing on stage the most over those couple years, I realized that it's not so much about, look what I can do, but about like, this feels good, this song feels good, this groove feels good. And I think in that regard, I think I've grown up a little bit as a musician and as a singer. Mm-hmm.
So it's not always about proving that you can hit that super...
Look how high my note is in every song! Ah! Yeah, I mean, and you know, coming from American Idol, when you're in competition mode, that's a natural way to go because you're like, look what I can do, let me win this thing.
Right. Now, you served as executive producer on this album. For some of the people watching at home who aren't as down with the music industry lingo, talk a little bit about what an executive producer actually does and the role that you sort of played in putting all this together. It's
quite basically that I got to be in creative control of the album. And I worked with an amazing team. I worked with RCA, an amazing label. My A&R, Rainey Hancock, is like an angel. She and I worked really closely on this, and my management as well. So it wasn't like I did everything, you know, but at the end of the day, it was my vision, and I kind of had the final say on stuff, and track listing, and I reached out to a couple different people, particularly to work with. The label suggested some people. And at the end of the day, I picked the tracks that are on the album, and more than that, I got to co-write on most of the tracks on the album as well. Great. So I got really involved. Mm-hmm. I also got really involved in the album art. I worked with a friend of mine who has an upstarting company for graphic design and photography, and his name's Lee Cherry. He's amazing, old friend. He's been taking pictures of me for years, and now he's starting like a multimedia thing. So we worked on the album art together, which was really rewarding, and yeah, it's like my obsession, my baby.
So your fingerprint is basically all over
all over it, yeah.
Of it. Awesome. So talk a little bit about some of the people that you did work with, because there's some really awesome names on there. Dr. Luke, Nell Rodgers, Pharrell Williams. Yeah. How did you get to work with them, and what was that collaborative process like?
Well, when I started the writing process, my first instinct was to kind of go a little bit darker. I was feeling a bit dark at the time. And my first album had been, you know, was very glam rock. And there were a couple darker songs, but all the imagery, my tour and everything was lots of feathers and glitter, and I kind of wanted to purposely go in a different direction. Mm-hmm. So I started writing some kind of moody emo stuff and working with a couple people. And they were good songs, but I would sit there and listen to them after we were done with demos and play them for friends, and it just wasn't clicking. So then I realized, I'm like, I want dance, I want funk, disco. You know, I was listening to a Daft Punk song, and I'm like, that's everything. That's electro. It's modern, but it's borrowing from classics, like dance classics, and I want to figure out how to fuse that for me. And I talked to the label about it, and that's when they suggested Pharrell. And I was like, well, yeah, if he'll work with me, I mean, of course I'll work with him, you know. And we got the green light. I flew to Miami, and I've told this story a lot, but I didn't feel cool enough to walk into the studio. I was pretty intimidated. I was like, it's freaking Pharrell, you know. Like, I'm such a fan, you know, and he's shaped pop music and hip hop over the past decade like crazy. And I didn't know. I didn't know if he was going to be into what I did. I was like, okay, here we go. And we started talking about life and music and the industry and, you know, being different and kind of having to, like, march forward strongly in spite of certain obstacles. And that's how the song Trespassing was born.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, what about Dr. Luke? I mean, he's been all over the place in the past couple of years working with Kesha and Katy Perry.
Yeah.
You know, how was that collaborative process?
Well, I mean, he did my first single on my last album, For Your Entertainment, the title track. And so I had gotten to know him through that process. And the way he produces things is just, he's got that special thing. He knows how to make an earworm. He knows how to put that special sonic sauce on things. And I have a lot of respect for his production. It's always top notch. And he's a cool guy. He's really, you know, he's easy to talk to. He gets it. Yeah, I was excited to have him on board because with him, it's almost an insurance policy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So you're such a visual performer. I mean, and sort of like, you know, your look and your image has always been a piece of your puzzle since the beginning, since we first met you on Idol. When you're creating music, are you already thinking about videos and stage performances and how you're going to translate that into sort of a visual setting, or do you keep those two things separate all the time? Yeah,
I mean, it depends on the song, but there were definitely a handful of songs on this album that I immediately had like visual performance ideas for. The song Cuckoo, for example, there's so many literal visual references in the lyric that I can just see acting out on stage in a concert. Sure. You know, electric shock therapy and straitjackets and, you know, walking your walk like you don't give an F, you know, that line in the song. You know, we're going to walk that walk on stage. So yeah, I mean, I definitely see things that are literal. And then part of the challenge too is to take a song maybe that I don't have a literal interpretation for and to come up with something. And that's what I love about music videos. The two that I've filmed, one is already out, Better Than I Know Myself, and the new one, For Never Close Our Eyes, should be out very soon.
Okay.
Both of them were exercises in taking a pretty straightforward concept and turning it on its side and trying to figure out kind of a twist for it, which I love doing that as an artist. I find it really, it's a good challenge, and I find it makes people think, you know? And I like that. I like being able to do that.
We actually got a lot of questions about Never Close Our Eyes and sort of what the concept of the video is going to be.
Well, I can't tell you.
Don't want you to give everything away.
Yeah, I can't give any.
A little teaser?
I don't know, you know? I'm trying to think of what I can give away. It's a little... No, I'm not going to give it away.
Nothing?
I'm not going to give it away.
We were
No,
so close.
it's a surprise.
All right.
It's a surprise.
Well, when do you think it's going to be out? How long do we have to wait to see it?
Soon.
Soon.
I don't have a date yet, but I'm guessing in the next couple of weeks.
Soon.
Yeah.
The
video is shot and it's edited,
okay.
But now it's all the post that's
right.
being taken. You know, we have some special effects we're adding, so that's
gotcha.
exciting. Yeah.
Okay, special effects. That's
yep,
good.
Yep. It's a little. Okay, here I'll tell you a couple things. There's a little sci-fi energy to it. There's a little like kind of. It's very cinematic. It was inspired by a couple different films. And that's it. That's all I'm going to give you.
Cinematic films. The brain's already working.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're very looking forward to seeing it. So we'll just.
It was a fun shoot. We did it in one day, and it was great. It went really well. The director's Dory Oskowitz, and he's awesome. So I'm looking forward to it.
Great. One thing that we do have some dates for are your shows with Queen that are coming up this summer in July. Talk about that. I mean, like, you've been a very vocal fan of theirs for a long time. You played with them on Idol back in the day. So how did this all come together, and how psyched are you to be on stage with Queen?
I'm just like, I'm so honored. You know, I still am like, I can't believe they asked me to do this. You know, I'm still a little like gagged about it. But they, when we did about 4 or 5 months ago, I did is that when it was? I don't have any concept of time anymore, by the way, so I'm just going to guess. The European Music Awards for MTV.
Right.
Sometime last year, I forget the day. they asked me to come and do like a medley of songs because they were getting like a big generation award, and I was floored then when they asked me to do that. And I flew to London. We had 1 day of rehearsal, and we had another day of sound check at the venue, and we did the performance, and it just felt so natural, and it was so easy with them. The chemistry is definitely there. They're very laid back, which I love, and it was just cool. It felt good, and it felt very positive and good energy, and the audience loved it.
Yeah,
so,
they're obviously big fans of yours as well.
Yeah, it was,
they seem very excited
and it's
about working with you
Queen, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, Freddie Mercury is definitely an idol of mine, both as a singer and a songwriter and a showman. You know, he's somebody that I've definitely been inspired by. You know, someone like him, if you look at his legacy with Queen, that was my way into American Idol. I auditioned with Bohemian Rhapsody, and I picked that song to try to allow the judges to understand what I would bring to the table, you know, and to try to give myself like almost like permission to be there.
Sure.
Because I am kind of a throwback in some ways. So, and it was hard for Simon at first. He was like, theatrical.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I just sang Bohemian Rhapsody, dude.
Right. How can you not be theatrical with Bohemian
But yeah, I
Rhapsody?
mean, I think this summer is going to be, it's going to be a challenge because there's some of the songs I don't know inside out yet, but I think I'll learn a lot from it, and I think it's going to be fun.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. We're very much looking forward to that. We're also looking forward to seeing you on the road solo.
Yeah.
One of the first questions that we got from everyone is, when is Adam coming to Canada or Turkey or London? So
If I knew, I would be able to tell you, but I had nothing. You know, I always find it very funny. I get a lot of questions on Twitter, and a lot of the questions are basically asking me to predict the frickin' future. And I'm like, I don't know yet, you know. I wish I did, but, and you know, believe me, if I knew these things, my mind could be a little bit more at ease too. But, you know, I'll definitely tour. Touring, I love performing live. It's, you know, this album was created and written with that in the back of my head the whole time. I was always like, how will this translate live? Will this be able to be arranged with an electric, you know, band setup or an acoustic thing, or, you know, how is this going to kind of live its life? So every song is a song that can be performed in a number of different ways. And I don't know what the tour is going to be yet, but I have a couple ideas for things on tour and the general vibe.
Okay.
Right now, actually, for a lot of the live performances, what's been really exciting is taking these songs, which have a lot of electronic production, and actually stripping back the electronic, making them organic again, and then adding a little of the electronic kind of to spice it up on top. So it's kind of like revamping them in a way for live, and it feels great. It feels really great. It's almost like taking the initial inspiration for the grooves and the style and making it that specifically, you know, taking it back in time and then pushing fast forward.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know that's a little existential for this interview, but that's how it goes.
Yeah, well, we're very looking forward to seeing you on the road. We will just keep watching the tour dates.
Yeah. I mean, it'll happen. I don't exactly know when. I mean, I think my goal in talking with my management is we really want to take advantage of as many opportunities to promote the album. I really want to share it with people and make people aware that it's out and get people to listen to it.
Yeah.
You know?
And you have a lot of things coming up. I mean, you did Good Morning America today. You have American Idol on Thursday.
Yeah.
What are some other things that you have going on in front of the album?
At the end of this month, the last 2 weeks of this month, I'm going to a lot of different radio stations and doing radio concerts. And that'll be great because I'll be sharing the bill with other acts. So hopefully that will kind of introduce me to some new people. And I'm excited to see some of those other acts too. I think they'll be good. And yeah, and that's the biggest challenge at this point, is just to make sure that people know I have an album out. And like I said, I believe so much in the music on this album, and I'm relying on that and only that really to promote it. I think it does speak for itself. I think it's that strong. So press play and get in. That's my motto.
Excellent. Trespassing out tomorrow.
Yeah.
So so while we wait until wait to get those in our inboxes, let's talk about some Twitter questions. We have thousands of questions that have come in.
Sure.
And going to put you on the spot here with one from Respect the GB, who says, this is funny, where did you do most of the writing for your album? At home, in the studio, or a dark, seedy bar underground?
Right. In the studio. That's how a lot of the writing went for me. I know some writers do a lot of their own time. For me, my best writing experiences were very team-oriented. I like getting in the room with one or two other writers and a producer and just kind of freestyling and jamming and letting it just kind of develop organically. A lot of the times, it's like there's like a beat or there's a chord progression going on, and then you can kind of start humming like a groove and a melody into it, and then the words kind of just come. And it's like, you know, a game of tennis. You're hitting the ball back and forth with the other writer.
Right.
And it's really fun to work that way. Because then, and the best ones were situations where ego is checked at the door. It's not about that. It's about just getting a good song together and coming up with great ideas.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know after you've finished writing a song and you're recording it, it's like, yes, this is the one that's going to be on the album, this is a single, or is it only in retrospect once you actually piece the songs together that you start to
I mean, I guess it's a little bit of both. There were a couple songs that I immediately felt really strongly about. And then there were some that were like, oh, we did it, and then I was like, I don't know, okay, here it is, and played it for friends over time as it like kind of came together production-wise. And a lot of it was gauged on reaction of the people that I respect in my life. It's hard to be objective sometimes when you were the one that wrote it and sang it.
Right.
But I definitely listened and paid attention to people. I had like, for example, I had a Halloween party on a bus. I rented one of those like party limo things.
Right.
And
sort of tours around the city.
Yeah. And I invited, I think it was like 25 people. We're all dressed up. You know, we're having some cocktails, laughing, having a good time, and I put on some of the demos that I had and just watched the bus, watched the group of people, their actual physical reaction. And when I put on, for example, Trespassing and Kickin' In, the two Pharrell tracks, the reaction in the bus was like, bam, like a bomb that went off. It was crazy. People were dancing. And I thought, you know what, that's the best test drive you could possibly do for a song, for an album of music that you want to inspire party and joy and a little sexy.
Right,
so
right.
that was a really great way to figure out which ones were working. And after those two songs, there were other ones on there that I've been working on. There were a couple that didn't quite connect, and I took note of that. So.
Got to ask, what were you dressed up as on the Halloween party bus?
Oh, vampire almost every year. It's like my go-to.
Kind of your go-to, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a vampire with a twist. You know, I've been a glampire. I've been a glam pirate.
Right.
I've been.
I was going to say there's got to be some.
There's always like
incorporated
sometimes sparkles. This year
Yeah.
was glitter free. He was more of like an industrial vampire.
I see.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it was good. Had the contacts. Was wearing some leather.
Right.
Yeah, it was good.
Excellent. Good image. We'll
It's
carry
very
that.
True Blood, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
We will carry that image into the next question from Quiet Retreat, who says, you're obviously invested in all the songs on Trespassing, but is there one that is closest to your heart?
I mean, they all mean something to me for different reasons, obviously, especially the ones that I wrote. I'm close to those ones the most, but I mean, it depends on what we're talking about. I mean, Outlaws of Love, for example, is a song, it's quite sad, with a little glimmer of hope in there at the end of the tunnel. But it's basically written as like a lament for the struggle that the LGBT community goes through. You know, there are a lot of songs on the album that are the opposite, that are uplifting and powerful and should inspire confidence and pride. But this song in particular, I wanted to go into the feeling of hopelessness that sometimes comes over one when you look at the crap that we have to deal with as a community. You know, with marriage and equality and the bullying and just the general ignorance that surrounds sexuality, especially in this country. And it's something that I deal very closely with, being in the public eye. And sometimes my experience is really great, and sometimes I really enjoy being able to verbalize, you know, what it's like being a gay man, so that maybe there's somebody on the other end that doesn't really understand it, and maybe I can enlighten them, give them some information, or maybe I can give you know, a teenager some confidence, you know, to just be who they want to be. But the flip side to that coin is that sometimes it's, especially with media, depending on who the media is, it can be very sensationalized.
Right.
And because it's kind of a hot button issue right now, I've done so many media interviews where the headline is gay, 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 gay. Every question that they asked about homosexuality and the gay lifestyle, that's the only thing they put in the article. They don't put anything about my music. It becomes all about that, out of my control. I just sit here and answer questions openly and honestly, you know what I mean? And I would have a struggle saying, I don't want to talk about that. I want to only talk about this because I want to talk about it when it's balanced.
Right.
It's, you know, and it's all about balance.
Right. I mean, and let's be real. I mean, like, there's not that many openly gay mainstream pop stars. I mean, like, you're on a very short list of people that I think that, you know, that the community at large would be able to name. So I think that, you know, you're often put in a position where, because you're one of those few voices, you're asked to speak about that a lot.
Yeah, and I like speaking about it, you know, and that's the struggle, is that I do feel strongly about all this stuff, you know, and I do want to be a positive, you know, influence, and I do want to be, I think just by being visible and just being open and cool with it, hopefully that's enough. But sometimes it's not.
Sometimes it's not.
Yeah, and it's, you know, and sometimes it feels like, oh, I can't win either way. But like I said, I've had a lot of really positive experiences with it too. You know, I've had people come up to me and say, look, you know, this is, you know, you made me look at this differently, or I've met young people that are like, I could talk to my parents after we were talking about you, and that's the reward in all of that.
Right.
But this song, back to the music again.
Right.
I wanted, you know, we can talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, but I wanted people to understand how it makes us feel, and I think the song captures that more than words, more than, you know, cerebral conversation. It's a feeling.
Excellent. As Ferocious, the hardest thing about doing these interviews is getting all of the Twitter handles right. And you're
reading them.
Yes,
I know it's
and
a
your
little
fans have some very, very colorful handles. So
my fans have very colorful handles.
I apologize.
I like the way you said that. They do.
But
yeah.
Apologize to As Ferocious, because I'm sure pronouncing your Twitter handle wrong. But the question is, what dreams did you have other than becoming a singer-songwriter, or was this the dream?
The songwriter thing was kind of late in the game for me. I always dreamed and kind of felt at ease being a performer of some sort, or a creator. You know, when I was a kid, I was like playing dress up all the time. I was making things. I was coming up with stories in my head and plays and costumes, and I've always been that guy. So I kind of came out of the womb that way. But which kind of way my career path went was kind of up in the air.
Right.
So I found a good one. I'm really happy where I ended up.
Yeah, I think you did okay.
This is good.
Let's see, a question from Roxy93Glam. If you could meet one dead pop star, who would the lucky person be?
Probably Freddie or Michael Jackson, probably. Just because of what, both of them, I think, were so iconic and so singular in what they did. And actually, they have a little in common in their approach, I think. And I can identify with how they create their music with their voice. And they were both really bold in kind of doing whatever the heck they wanted and being the type of artist they wanted to be. And, you know, we always get caught up on genre and like, well, is it rock? Is it pop? Is it R&B? The thing about both of those is that they blended it all together. Yeah. Both of them did. They were just like, this is a cool song and this is how I'm singing it. I don't care what genre it is, you know.
I read a report recently that there potentially might be a Freddie Mercury hologram at the Queen shows.
Apparently it's not a hologram, it's a visual illusion.
Visual illusion, okay. Big distinction.
It's different apparently. They said it's not the Tupac thing from Coachella. It's supposed to be like a visual illusion.
Right.
I know nothing about it.
Okay.
I just got an email from, I think it's supposed to be happening today actually on the West End for their production of We Will Rock You. It's like an anniversary.
Oh, right. That's right, yeah.
And I actually just got an email from Brian. He was just saying, oh, we're doing this, but I didn't ask him what it was. Right,
okay. So if you're in London and you're out there watching and you've seen this visual illusion, give us a tweet, let us know how it went.
Yeah, I want to hear what it is. Exactly.
Let's see. Here's one from Kaylee Francis. What was the first thing you bought with your first big paycheck?
I paid a lot of taxes, I think, with my first big paycheck. Well, I mean, a definite like lifestyle upgrade was that you know before Idol, I was living in a studio apartment in Hollywood. It was small, and so I decided to rent a house. So it was the first like house I ever lived in, and that was definitely a transition.
Right. Okay.
Felt good.
Right.
A little lonely though. It felt weird. It was weird. I was like, I have this big old house and I'm only one in here. So I kept inviting friends. Do you want to stay the weekend? You know, I was inviting, like, I was having like big slumber parties.
House parties like the entire time, right? Exactly.
I feel bored. I'm in this big house.
Speaking of your friends, Georgia Lambert says, when did you meet Katy Perry, and how did you become such good friends?
Well, and not in a negative way, but we're not such good friends. We're not like super close. We're good acquaintances, and I have a lot of respect for her. I think she's an amazing performer, great writer, and she's really like navigated the whole pop star celebrity thing with a lot of class.
Yeah.
I respect her way of approaching it. We have a bunch of mutual friends and met years ago before she got big, randomly. But it's not like I didn't like stay in touch with her or anything. I just would see her here and there.
I think that that's the illusion that, you know, we want to believe that, you know, we see you in a photo at the Grammys with like Rihanna, and it's like, oh, they hang out all the time,
No.
and they're going on vacation together.
It's not like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in my mind, I actually thought it was gonna be like that. You know, after Idol was ending, I'm like, yeah, I'm in the club now. I'm gonna get to go to like, you know, all these people's houses, you know, and I really thought that's kind of what it was, and I very quickly was like, oh, this is work.
Right.
In many ways, you know, it's the best kind of work there is. But going to like the Grammys, this is like an industry thing. This is like you know, we're celebrating music and we're supporting it, but it's not as social as it may look. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense to me.
And you know, then you know, there's like the cocktail reception afterwards, and maybe you do get into a conversation with somebody, but it's a bit difficult. There's a lot of people walking around. And there's a lot of people that come up to you that want something, and they're trying to get you to listen to their demo. And
Right.
there's just a lot of working that goes on. So,
Well, has there been anybody that you've met over the past few years that has really blown you away, and that you've like developed a kinship with, or has like taught you something about this brave new pop world?
you know who I did a lot of writing with on the album was Bonnie McKee,
yeah.
and she just got signed, so she'll be an artist very shortly. She is an artist, and everybody will be able to hear her very shortly. And she's awesome. I had a really good time writing with her and getting to know her, and she's someone that I'll stay in touch with. She's very talented and super smart, and I'm excited to hear her album. So that should be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Here's a question from, let's see, where should we go here? Lil Blonde Mom, who says, do you think of getting more tattoos, and if so, what would they be?
Well, when I can figure out what they'll be, I'll get it. So
Okay.
I want more, but I was actually just talking about this earlier. You know, it's a big decision, tattooing. You know, it's permanent.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I want to like really figure out something that I really love. And so when I find something that I like, I let it like marinate for a little while and make
Right.
sure it's not just like a little flight of fancy. You know.
Well, talk about this one, because we were looking at this a little bit
Oh,
earlier.
it's a key. A friend of mine did a painting, and this is like one of the things in the painting, and I just really liked the way it was designed. And there's like the head of the key is kind of like a skeleton face, and it kind of has like a Victorian, like turn of the century kind of look to it. I like
Right.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully the rest of my arm will follow suit pretty soon,
Nice.
but I don't know when.
So if you have any ideas, tweet us, let us know. Total Adam Fan says, now that Obama has decided that same-sex couples should be able to get married, would you marry someday?
Maybe. I mean, I wasn't waiting for Obama to tell me if I could or not, but but I'm very happy that he's publicly made that statement. That's a big step
Yeah.
and a great example to set. You know, to be honest with you, I've only thought about marriage until recently, in the sense that I'm like looking at what marriage is now for our community. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm ready to get married anytime soon. I'm in an amazing relationship right now, and I'm very much in love, but I've only been in like a couple of relationships.
Right.
I've kind of have a little arrested development as far as relationships go. I'm kind of like a 22-year-old in relationship land. So I'm just enjoying, you know, having love in my life and being in a couple, and marriage is a ways off for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it must also be difficult to be a celebrity in general and having all of that outside pressure on you when you're
Yeah,
in a
it's like what we were talking
relationship.
about earlier. There's this kind of like, you know, you should set an example and be a gay person that's married. And I'm like, well, but I want to live my life for me. And that marriage is like a very personal, important thing. That's not to be taken lightly,
Right.
you know. There's a certain amount of sanctity that I want to keep in my marriage whenever that happens.
There you go. Let's see. Lex loves music. Sorry.
I say that a couple of times fast.
Yeah,
What's going on
quite
there?
a tongue twister.
Ooh.
I get bullied badly a lot for no reason. What would your advice be for me on how to stand up for myself?
Oof.
I know this is an issue that you've actually
It's
talked
hard.
about.
I've talked about it a lot. I mean, I encountered a little bit of it when I was younger. but it wasn't so bad for me. I grew up in Southern California, and I think maybe part of it, I was a big boy.
Mm-hmm.
I got tall really fast, so
Right.
I think it might have not been as easy of a target. During middle school, I was
Right.
like,
It's easy when
almost
you
6 foot
easy when you
in
can
7th
step on
grade,
them.
and they were
Yeah,
like,
right.
"What's going on?" So, I kind of think one of the ways to kind of avoid conflict is mind your own business, and I think, I don't know, do your thing and do what you want to do, and you have every right to that. And I think working with faculty at school and adults to kind of create a safe environment is very important. Just avoid the situations if you can, and don't feed the fire. Just avoid the conflict. I think in many of these situations, from what I can gather, I think bullies win when you give them the satisfaction. So if you let it affect you, or if you show them that it's affecting you, or you engage with somebody that's bullying you, it just feeds the fire. You might be better off just kind of going, okay, and walking away. And I know that maybe that's not the best advice, but I'm all for avoiding conflict.
Right.
Can't you tell? Me fanning
Right.
flames.
Well,
What?
I think it's fanning flames. Yeah, I think that's great advice for anybody.
I don't know. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, I think every case is different. I think it's also really important to find a circle of friends that accept you for who you are and celebrate that. There are people like that out there, and if you can put positive energy in your everyday life, it's easier to tune out the negative energy.
Right.
You
You also did a really great video for It Gets Better.
Yeah.
That I know a lot of people watching saw, and it had a lot of really positive comments about just sort of, being in that situation and realizing that, this is how it is for now, but eventually, like as you said, it gets better.
Yeah.
And that if you just, just sort of, hold face and get through it.
Yeah, and it sucks, but it's also character building.
Yeah.
I find it's really beautiful that this movement has come up and become more. We have awareness about it. But I mean, when I was a teenager, there was no one talking about it. My generation had to just deal with it, and I'm not saying that's great, but some of us turned out pretty good.
Right.
So it's possible, and maybe maybe that's part of it too. Is that you just got to be strong, and that's life.
Yeah.
That's the hard knock school of life, and you just have to kind of deal with stuff sometimes.
Yeah. So we have time for a few more questions, and I wanted to get to a couple of these because there's some great ones in here. Gleeky, gleeky, gleek.
Say that again fast.
Seriously.
Come on.
Your house is on fire. You can only save 3 items. What would they be?
Laptop. All the music's on there.
Yep.
All of it.
So essential.
My boyfriend. I'd throw him over my shoulder. And then he would go like, Adam, I can do that myself. So he would be fine. So I wouldn't need. Okay, so the laptop. What else would I save? Probably some old photo albums.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I could grab one from my youth.
Yeah.
What else?
If you weren't wearing these pants, you should probably save those because those are pretty awesome.
Yeah, maybe I would take a jacket. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Or like a leather jacket in the closet or something.
Maybe if I could throw some of my my special jewelry stuff. I have a ring that was my grandfather's that my mom gave me, and he's passed away. So there's special stuff that I would try to throw in a bag if I could.
Long haul. And also, do you have any rituals that you do before you get on stage?
I mean, I try to warm up whenever possible to a point. I'm not really diehard about it, but I do some vocalizing. Sleep, water, tea, warm tea is good. I've over the years I've come to learn about what things aren't good for your voice and what things dry it out or make it tired, or you just learn about stuff. And when I was a teenager, I took a lot of vocal technique classes, so I think I have a pretty strong foundation to get through fatigue and things like that. So, yeah.
Cool. Here's another one. Larabulus Larabulous, I love that. Larabulous wants to know, what is the cheesiest, most embarrassing song you have on your iPod? It's time to come clean.
Cheesiest, most embarrassing song? I don't know. I'm sure I have some really cheesy ones on there. I don't know. I would have to scroll through my iPod, and it's in my bag over there. I don't know.
Right, okay. Can we have his iPod, please? I can just, I'll go through and tell you what's embarrassing.
How are you going to find it? How are you going to find the cheesiest one? Oh, you're going to judge it, which
I
might be
can
better in the long run, because maybe what I think is amazing, you think is cheesy. I don't know.
Right, it could be, because I know a lot of what I think is brilliant. People, my friends, are just like, really, you listen to that?
I probably have like a Barbra Streisand song or like a Liza, like some like kind of the gay show tune like moment on my iPod somewhere.
All right. Well, here's an easier one, and this one is from Sabrina Arnett 87. What's the last album you bought?
The Alex Clare album's really cool. I just bought that. The Ting Tings album is really cool. But that was like a couple weeks ago. I'm trying to think of the one I just bought. I need my iPod again, see? Do we have it?
The iPod is being acquired, and soon we will know all.
Toss it. It's in the top pocket of the... Oh, we're live, huh?
We are totally live.
Okay, like, you know what? We're going to wait. They can't cut. Here, toss it to me. Oh, you're going to be on camera. Are you okay with that?
Thanks, Matt.
Did you sign any clearances?
Yeah, we'll make sure that you get to sign on the dotted line.
Okay, let's really figure this out. I think this is important.
Actually, what was the last song you're playing? That's a good one.
Okay, well...
It was your own.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. Where's my purchased? They've made this, they've made it a little confusing, I have to say, with the purchased and the iCloud.
Yeah, you have all the different.
It's great because you can get like all your stuff, but I get so confused.
Right.
Grace Potter's really cool. There's a song called "Never Go Back" that I just downloaded.
Love Grace Potter.
Her voice is nuts. I like that "Big Hoops" by Nelly Furtado. I think it's a great track. I downloaded the Justin Bieber single.
Isn't it great?
It's great.
Yeah, super catchy.
It's cool.
Our little Justin's all growing up.
Yeah. You know, I have to say, like, hats off to him. He's, for someone so young, he's handling it all really well. Or, like, at least it seems like it.
Yeah.
If I were that age, I'd be a mess.
Yeah, seriously. It doesn't really seem like he's on his way to, like, a breakdown.
No,
like,
you got to give him props for,
soon,
like, keeping it together and keeping it mature and, like, you know, he seems like he's got it together.
Right.
That's hard to do. What else? Anything else?
Give us one more.
The Estelle album is really good. The new Estelle. Yeah. It's really cool. Really cool. There's a song called Cold Crush that's really good. Thank You, Speak Your Mind. Good stuff.
Awesome.
Really good stuff.
Well, your fans out there have a lot of new music to go and download. So.
Oh, and there's one more. There's a song called Major by Out of Frequency. Wait, is that the album? Yeah, it's the Asteroids Galaxy Tour is the name of the group.
Interesting.
It's super weird.
The Asteroids Galaxy Tour is the name of the group.
I think so. It's like kind of like weird, like New Orleans, like acid jazz. I don't know how to. It's like Mardi Gras, like on acid. I don't know what it is. It's a really cool song.
All right.
Makes it a little like Jimi Hendrix psychedelic. Like it's cool.
Well, hopefully they're going to sell a lot of downloads after this interview. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for the tour through the iPod.
You're welcome.
Nice case as well.
Thank you.
All right. One more question.
Trespassing. Out tomorrow.
All right. And time for our final question. This is from Soul Ruin. Soul Ruin says, Billboard, in your article, that is posted on Billboard.com right now, go check it out. In the Billboard article, you say that you know who you are as an artist now. So, who are you?
I mean, I think I don't know how to just sum it up like that. God. I mean, I kind of think one of the things about being an artist, when you really know what you're about, is there's an element always of like people pleasing as an artist. I mean, especially when popular music. That's kind of the goal. Is like you want people to like your stuff. You know, you want to reach as wide of an audience as possible. But then my challenge that I really presented to myself this year with this album was balancing that with a certain amount of integrity. What do I like? Who do I want to be? And I think at the end of the day, if you get on stage and you're having a really good time singing a song, whether it be in front of a group of people or in your rehearsal with your band or when you're listening to the track of the song in your car, if you are always enjoying it, you're doing something right. And I feel like I've made an album where the songs are that for me. I don't get sick of them. I love them. And they're really fun to sing, and they're fun to communicate to an audience. You know, we did the Jimmy Kimmel show a couple weeks ago, and that was the first time doing some of these songs live for my fans. And so many showed up, and it was really great. And it was this thing that switched on from rehearsal to that, and I was like, that's it. That's the thing. That's it, is the communication of the meaning of the songs to the audience and getting to connect with people and singing one line to somebody and having them be like, oh, you know.
Right.
That's what, you know, that's cool, you know. And I think, for me as an artist, I think the biggest evolution on this album is that it's me. This is me. This is who I am. I think with Idol being in a competition and trying to get votes, there was definitely an element of people-pleasing going on where there's a certain amount of pageantry that goes on. You know, you're like, I don't want to ruffle feathers. I want to do this, and I was strategizing like a politician would. But now, I think with this album in particular, I've kind of tossed that out the window and just, if I think something in a song, that's me. That's me keeping it real. And there's a certain shred of honesty on the album.
Right.
And it's a true reflection of, like I've said, my hopes, my dreams, my aspirations, my desires, and my fears and woes and darkness. You know, it's both.
Right. It's all in there.
So the doors are open.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to hear that album and so much more coming from you soon. Trespassing is out tomorrow on RCA Records. Yeah. Go out and buy it, and go watch him on American Idol on Thursday, and sit by your Ticketmaster and wait for that tour to be announced, because it's coming soon. And you'll be coming
something.
Soon-ish.
Eventually-ish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Adam, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank
you
too.
so much.
Yeah, likewise.
And come back and join us again next time.
I will. Thank you.
All right.
And more bitter than